Welcome to Newrealities. My name is Alan Steinfeld, and tonight's guest is someone I've wanted to talk to for a long time. He's really, I feel, the bridge between science and consciousness, or the physical world and the world of spirit. And he's a scientist, and he's made this bridge in very technical ways, and very kind of, I would say, complex but also easy to understand, if we can talk about that for the layman, you know. So his name is Nassim Haramein. He's a physicist, and we're going to be talking about the concepts of black holes, energy, and consciousness itself. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Your work is complex in some ways because you involve a lot of you make the bridge between quantum physics and Einstein's theory of relativity,
Right.
by saying that there's some energy that they're not accounting for.
Correct.
And that is the spin. The spin.
No, they're accounting for the spin. There's something that's being not taken care of in current physics in both sides of the equation, in Einstein field equation and in quantum theory. In both cases, there is no source for the spin of object. That is, if you ask a physicist, why is the Earth spinning? He'll tell you because the sun's spinning. And then why is the sun spinning? They'll tell you because the galaxy's spinning, and so on, all the way back to the Big Bang. And then they won't tell you where the energy came from to get everything spinning in the first place.
They won't tell you where the energy for the Big Bang came from.
Right, or why things continue to spin for 14 billion years in our universe, considering the amount of friction there is out there, the amount of interaction between plasma dynamics. You would expect that everything would have stopped spinning. The assumption is that it's an ideal frictionless environment, which is not really what we observe. For instance, look at the layers on the sun, or the inside of the Earth is spinning at a different rate than the outside of the Earth. And, there's not really any model to say where that spin is coming from.
Even the DNA is spinning and spiraling, isn't it?
Well, that's another issue. But in any case, the same occurs at the quantum level, where quantum theory really was a way to not have to deal or to address the fact that the electron is spinning continuously for billions of years at near the speed of light, and there's no really any source for that spin in current quantum theory.
So science just writes it off. They don't even put that in the equation.
Exactly. Quantum theory, as one of its first axiom, has an axiom that says that they're not going to address causation. That is, they're not going to address what is causing the electron to be spinning around the nucleus of an atom, at the speed of light for billions of years without any energy input. That is a large omission, and my equation shows that that needs to be added in.
Well, what do you say is the reason for the spin or the source?
My equation shows that the origin of spin is actually a space-time torque. And I'll just give you a little idea of what that is.
Yeah.
Einstein basically said that space-time is like a surface. You could think of it as a surface, like a trampoline, that is being bent by the mass of an object. So that gravity is not so much a force of the object itself, as in Newtonian physics, but that actually gravity is the force of an object applied onto the structure of space-time, just like the trampoline bending around the mass of a heavy ball in the middle of it, and any other ball in its surrounding would be attracted to it.
The heavier the mass, the more warped space-time, the fabric of space-time.
Correct, and then the larger gravitational field.
Right.
Now, my equation says, well, actually, when the ball bends the trampoline, all right, it doesn't just bend straight like this, it curls as it bends. Just like water going down the drain curls as it goes down the drain. It doesn't go straight down the drain.
Oh, I see. So the fabric or the grid of space-time kind of
distorts,
twists,
yeah.
I see.
And so
That's just a phenomena of mass itself, mass and gravity.
right. Energy curving space-time creates space-time torque.
Torque is that curve.
Is that force that forces things to spin. It's just like you can't say you can't analyze all of the dynamics of the wheel of your car and think that you've got all the energy necessary for making that wheel make your car move if you don't have in your equation the V8 engine and the torque that the V8 engine produce in order for that wheel to move, to spin. And I believe that that's what we've forgotten, is to put the V8 engine.
So the greater the mass, the more extreme the torquing or the twisting?
Correct. Well, it's relative to as well the radius of the system. So relative to the radius and to the mass of the system, you get higher and higher spin as the, if you'd like, the vortex of space-time torque move towards very, very small, like an atom. Now you would expect that it would spin near the speed of light, and that is exactly what you see when you look at the electron cloud. You've got a dynamic in which, you know, the electron spin is near the speed of light, so you know, the space-time torque acts on the system at that point at very, very high velocity. As the radius gets smaller and smaller, then it keeps spinning faster and faster. So,
or if it gets larger and larger, it spins slower and slower?
Correct, like the spin of a galaxy, you know. Although it takes a lot of torque to spin a whole galaxy with its 100 billion stars.
Right.
You know, the galaxy surface and mass is so wide and big that it spins very slow relative.
And this torquing, you say, is because there's a black hole inside all these objects, you know, inside an atom, inside a galaxy, inside the sun, there are black holes.
Well, the other thing that this theory predicts is that actually things can be divided to infinity, that there's a fractional problem. This is one of the reasons they didn't want to put torque in there, is because there's what they call a fractional problem where, you know, things can be divided towards infinity. And what I'm saying is that instead of avoiding that, which is really what the math is telling you, is to accept that and start to look at what it means in terms of the dynamics of the universe, if that's true. If an atom can continuously be divided to infinity, well, first of all, you probably stop building faster and faster accelerators, you know, to cut the atom in smaller and smaller pieces, because you know that you can keep doing that infinitely. And if you were to do that, if you understood that, then you start to look for the pattern of divisions instead of trying to look for a fundamental particle. And
so
then
you looked at the patterns.
Right.
You said you'd read these old physics books and say they were wrong in places and say they weren't taking this into account.
Right. They typically don't take for account geometry and patterns of things. They're just looking for a fundamental structure, or I'm sorry, for a fundamental particle without paying attention to the geometry and to the pattern. And you know, nature is about pattern, and if you understood the pattern of nature, then you understand the key of creation. So my theory now considers the atom as a mini black hole, and that's why the electron clouds spin as near the speed of light at the event horizon of a mini black hole. And if you take that for consideration, and now you calculate how much force of gravity you have at the nuclei of the atom, all of a sudden you don't need the quantum theory strong force to hold the protons together, because gravity can do the job. It's strong enough in the context of a mini black hole the size of an atom.
So if we take this whole thing into account, the idea that that changes everything, the way we look at the world, the way we look at technology even, right, will completely change.
Right.
Because you've added a whole element that no one saw before.
Right. Definitely our worldview would completely change. The way we consider ourselves, if we're made out of mini black holes that we call atoms, that has huge philosophical implications, It has implications that are very similar to many of the directives that many of the masters that have come on the earth have talked about to us, like every point in the universe has God within it. Every infinity is within you.
Because in the center of every black hole is a place of total presence with no time and no space.
Yeah, there's a point of infinite density that is called singularity that has a completely nonlinear connectivity to all things. And, it starts to join very much so the description that's given by the Buddha, by Krishna, by many of the masters on the earth that talked about even the Bible and so on, that talks about the kingdom of heaven being within, God being in everything. It all starts to make sense.
I see. So this is the bridge that we were talking between the science and consciousness, is that this
Correct.
point of singularity exists within all systems.
Yes.
All systems themselves have a point zero.
Right, a point of singularity
Yeah.
at its center that describes the infinite division of space, and and then eventually the theory goes on to show that there is a relationship between the space-time torque, right, and the electromagnetic radiation. So basically, we look at creation from the outside in, and so we are looking at the outside of black holes,
Right.
seeing the radiative side, and we call them stars, pulsars, atoms, suns, and so on. But the inside is contracting towards infinity because of space-time torque. So you've got a relationship between the information going in as space-time torque and the information going out as electromagnetic radiation. And that generates a feedback loop of information transfer. And that becomes a perfect view in mathematics to describe the event of consciousness, which demands, for self-awareness to occur, you need that feedback of information that allows you to know that you are yourself, or that you can see yourself in the mirror and know that it's you. That demands the feedback loop of information. You basically radiate information throughout, radiate energy throughout the day as you gather information, and that is the feedback of information transfer throughout creation at all levels that becomes a way to synthesize or to describe consciousness in a very mechanical and physical way.
So the point of singularity in us then is intelligence, consciousness radiating out information, and then also taking in information.
Right. In this view, the whole universe is this feedback of information transfer. The whole universe becomes a conscious universe.
So the universe itself, as you said, is a black hole that's actually expanding and contracting at the same time.
Correct.
So the galaxies are not moving away from each other like, Hubble's...
They are moving away from each other. It's just that in this view, the universe is spinning, and as they're moving away from each other, there is a section of the universe that where the material is moving back towards each other, and the shape becomes a torus-shaped universe instead of just a flat universe or a bounded universe. It becomes a dynamical universe in which there's expansion at one level and a contraction at another. And when you look at a galaxy, actually, you get a really good model of that, because people think of galaxies just as galactic disk, but all galaxies actually have galactic halo, where all the stars that are in the galactic disk eventually go into the halo and fall back in at the center of the galaxy and move in those dynamics of a torus.
So this is the basic pattern you're saying is the underlying nature of all things. This is the pattern of nature itself.
It is the pattern of nature, and it has, there's more complexity in it than just a torus shape. First of all, it's a double torus, and because there's Coriolis forces, and so we added torque and Coriolis forces to Einstein field equation.
What is a Coriolis force?
Coriolis forces is the forces that allows things to move in opposite direction. For instance, on Earth, whenever an object is spinning, it's subject to Coriolis forces. On Earth, the Coriolis forces make hurricanes rotate in opposite direction in both hemispheres. So in the north hemisphere, it's rotating in one direction, in the south hemisphere in the opposite direction. That's the Coriolis forces. It describes the dynamics of spin on the surface of angular momentum. So those things have very specific, dynamics that describe the structure of space-time. For instance, even when you look at the sun's dynamic, the plasma dynamics on the surface of the sun, you see those Coriolis forces, you see the torque dynamics. When you look at a galaxy, you see the torque dynamics and all this, and that's why they're missing 98% the mass of the universe.
So you're saying what they call dark matter is really this idea of the force exerted by
torque.
Is
space-time torque that they haven't calculated. So obviously, if you're trying to calculate the amount of energy in the wheels of your car, but you don't have the motor to spin those wheels in those equations, you're going to be missing a majority of the mass or energy that you need to get those wheels spinning.
So you're saying there is no such thing as missing matter or dark matter.
Correct.
There is no such thing.
That was just a cop-out because they couldn't figure out where the 98% of the mass they were missing was coming from.
But isn't it a basic law of Newton that force equals mass times acceleration? Isn't that
Correct.
a basic law? So wouldn't they take into account that acceleration or the torquing of the universe to account for the force equal to mass? But they didn't do that.
They didn't do that. They abandoned Newtonian physics at cosmological size object, and which was the break that Einstein did. And really and it was okay because Einstein did, the Einsteinian physics is very powerful. What I'm saying is that you still, you can't just say, well, it all started in the Big Bang, it all started spinning, and since then it's been spinning in an ideal frictionless environment, and we don't need no source to make everything spin. What I'm saying is, no, you need a source of energy to make everything spin, and that source is probably the source of energy that generated the Big Bang in the first place. That's rotating. For instance, Einstein assumed that although everything in the universe spins and rotates, that the universe itself didn't. My theory says no, the universe does spin. Everything in it spins, so thus the universe spins. If the universe spins, then the dynamics of expansion changes. You'd expect that galaxies would be expanding away from each other at a faster and faster accelerated rate relative to each other at the edge of that universe, which is what we observe. And then you'd have to calculate the source of energy, that is the space-time torque necessary to spin everything.
But what was the source of the Big Bang, or that initial, do you count?
Well, in this view, the universe is then, divisible to infinity, but in both directions. from infinitely big to infinitely small. So that is, our universe is in a larger universe that's in a larger universe, and that's to infinity. So if we look at it that way, let's just assume that it's like that, just for a minute, which actually, if you ask most kids, you know, you know, when you talk to them about our universe being a finite universe with a boundary, they ask, well, what's that in? You know, if our universe ends there, what is our universe in? Which is a very good question.
Yeah, sure.
You know, most of the time this is avoided by physics. What I'm saying is that is probably because it's in a larger universe, which is in a larger universe. And then, if that's true, then, you know, our physics, these physics, starts to describe that, you know, black holes go through moments of expansion where, you know, they generate material and they accrete material so that they become very slow and unstable. The amount of space-time torque available and the amount of material they're dragging is too much, and they have to release material. In terms of star, we call those moments supernova explosion. And basically imagine a supernova explosion and put it at the universal level, and that's how we got here.
It's related to chaos theory, where systems have to break down in order to go to another level of complexity.
Exactly. And basically what I'm saying is that the Big Bang is just one of those moments. It was an immense black hole that released much of its material, generated our universe, and spun back up, orbiting all of our universe as a result, and then creating smaller black holes we call stars and so on that do the same thing, which makes, you know, solar systems do that, you know, and so on, all the way down to atomic structures and subatomic particles.
But if we're going to bring consciousness back into that, now was consciousness then before that, or consciousness as a result of that? How do you equate consciousness within that whole theory of pattern development?
Well, you know, in an infinite universe of infinite division, there's no before or after. There's just presence. There's only so in that sense you could say that it's always been there. It's never been the egg or the chicken. It's always been both. And basically consciousness, or the movement of information through the event horizons of different scale black holes in the universe just is the foundation of creation and consciousness. So matter cannot exist without information transfer or consciousness, and consciousness cannot exist without matter, and the two are complementary and feedback onto each other to create the dynamics that we see as creation.
But you were also saying we won't be able to actually move to this next level of understanding until we mature as a conscious race, right? We won't be able to have this kind of technology that goes along with this theory until we evolve, in a sense, because we've been functioning at one level of complexity, let's say, but we need to shift in order to integrate your theories.
Right. I think the shift is happening on the planet already. People are sensing that there's first of all, that there's a shift in our solar system, there's a shift on our planet. They're sensing that we have to go to a level of understanding where we become global, and we understand at least our global, you know, relationship. But this theory helps us to get there, because it starts, when you start to think of billions of atoms that you're made of as mini black holes with infinite potential, you start to connect with your infinite nature, your inherent infinite nature. And when you do, you start to see everyone else as an infinite potential being, and then you feel connected to them, you feel connected to everything. And when you feel that connectivity, then it becomes very difficult to go to war, to destroy each other, and you start to collaborate. It really is crucial time in the evolution of consciousness. It happened to microbes, you know, early in the evolution of Earth. You know, microbial life was on the brinks of extinction because they were producing too much oxygen, which for them was
the waste product,
and pollution, and they had to move to collaboration and make a multi-cellular system that could breathe the oxygen in order to be able to survive. And it was a very, very tentative moment in the history of microbial life at that time, where going from competition to collaboration was very, very difficult. And I think we're right there on this cusp of that change.
We have the chance to repeat that pattern.
Right, at the next fractal level, at the next scale level, which is the humans now that are the microbes that got together, you know?
Right. Many people talk about this fractal pattern of evolution, so we're just at that moment. You also say we're getting help from crop circles. You have a very interesting understanding of what crop circles are.
Right, it's really interesting that many of the patterns that I was describing in my equations start to appear in crop circles after I had worked on them, and the crop circles I appeared in seemed to be crop circles that were not the result of hoaxes.
Right.
And
well, they're so complex. The design and the geometry is just, it seems like who would be thinking these, you know, saying there's new geometric patterns that were created. So you're finding answers for your physics questions in the crop circles?
Well, the answers I found seem to appear in crop circles, and so I, you know, to me, there might be a reason. Maybe we're being educated about the structure of creation. Maybe they're trying to move us along so that we're prepared for the changes that are going on our planet. And I think it's really crucial at this time that we decode these and apply them to advanced physics and move to a new level of comprehension and a new level of technology with it.
Well, it's so exciting, the work you're doing. If your ideas are really put into practice, it seems the implications are tremendous.
The implications are huge. You know, I mean, in the future, if this theory is correct, we could be developing very advanced technologies that would make everything we have today look like child play. And really putting our way of doing things basically in you know, history as a moment in human evolution where the advancements of humans were at a very dangerous state, because this new technology would be very much aligned with the fundamental forces of nature, would be very powerful and very safe to use.
Wow. Is there anything that you that doesn't fit into this equation? Any you know, questions you're still asking?
There's always questions. There's an infinite amount of questions, but definitely I believe that this theory resolves a lot of the current questions that are going on in physics, and a lot of the questions and supports a lot of the knowledge that's already present in spiritual you know, understandings around the world.
Wow, very exciting. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
I've been talking to Nassim Haramein, whose website is theresonanceproject.org. He'll be coming out with DVDs and lectures. Hopefully you'll be on tour lecturing about these ideas, because
I will be. I'm a very busy man.
I know.
And I will be on tour, so stay in touch. Go to our website, theresonanceproject.org, and you know, you can get on the mailing list so that you get you know, schedules and so on, and as well, when the DVD comes out, there'll be announcements and so on, and you stay on top of what's going on.
Thank you, Nassim. I've been talking to Nassim Haramein, who's the founder of the resonanceproject.org. He's coming up with some very exciting new theories. I'm Alan Steinfeld for New Realities. If you want to reach me, I'm at 212-473-6388 or newrealities@earthlink.net. Thank you for watching.